Hello. Hi, and welcome to the Chit-Chat Cafe. I'm Sarah Haskett, and I'm here with my colleague Carolyn Barber. And tonight we're going to talk a bit more about the trialogues, but we're going to talk a bit more about our own personal experience of them and how we adapted the technique to do it online, because we've got another online trialogue coming up soon. So before we get into that, is there any other updates that we've got, Carolyn? Or everything's kind of weaning down a little bit now?
All the courses that were programmed in for the Summer Online Mental Wealth Academy have all started now. So the Art and Wellbeing course started on Friday, but it's still open for people to sign up to any of the courses for free, and certainly until the end of August. So you might have kind of thought, oh, that looks interesting, shall I give it a go? And you can just, even if all the live sessions have been recorded, so you can catch up with any of the courses. So just to kind of run through them briefly, shall I? So
yeah, go for it.
We have the ongoing mindfulness course, where we're doing mindful practice sessions twice a week, and that's going to carry on until the end of August. And you can sign up for that online as well and catch up with previous recordings, catch up with any of those. The Working Through Worry course that Sarah's running, and Discover Yourself course that I'm running. So those are both kind of self-development type, working around boosting your mental health type courses. And then the creative courses, the journal writing course has finished now, but again, you can still join, and you've got some time to kind of catch up with that. That was 5 sessions of exercises around journal writing, which is great. I've been doing some of that, trying to catch up with it. And then the Embodiment Through Movement course, which again, terrifically popular course, run by Casey Holland. So she's again, brilliant course, and you can catch up with that. I think she's done 2 sessions of that, hasn't she? And
yes.
Again, there's 5 weekly sessions of that particular course. And then, as I said, the Art and Wellbeing course, which started on Friday. So, and then back to the trialogue idea. We've had one online trialogue event in July, which I think went pretty well. So we can talk about that a bit. But we've got another one scheduled in August. Is it the 22nd?
Let's just check. It's the 19th. Wednesday the 19th at 7 o'clock.
Okay, so it must have been the 22nd of July, I think, that we had the first trialogue, and then we've got our second online one on the 19th of August. So we're hoping that more will join us there.
Yeah, we had quite a small group for the first one, but that was quite nice, really, because it was the first online trialogue that we've done. So especially for me, sort of facilitating it, that was it was quite easy on my nerves. So,
okay. Do you want to say a bit about that, because you've been keen for quite a long time to get the trialogue online, haven't you? And it kind of hasn't happened, and now was the right time,
yes.
really, to give it a go. So, from your point of view, or how you imagined it, how do you feel it went?
Yeah, I think it went really well, and it worked. It worked well. It's been something I've wanted to do for a long time, like you said, because I just see it as a really accessible way of getting this incredibly inspiring meeting, this incredibly inspiring system that we've got, this what the trialogue is, I just love it so much. It always leaves me feeling so inspired, so uplifted, so full of like creative thoughts and energy, and to make it online. I've always been really techie, so I love anything a bit of tech. I've always loved things online. So even before COVID, this was my my direction, and so to bring it to something that is so accessible that people could go to when they can't leave the house, or it could even be much broader. So we've done it in fairly small communities, but to have something accessible online, that doesn't need to be a small community, it can be a global community. And I just find, I think that dynamic, that ability to be so rich in different culture and ideas, that's what draws me to wanting to do it. And like you say, we've been trying it a few times. We tried it probably about 3 years ago over in Gosport when I tried to do a webinar thing, and the software I had I could never quite work out, so it didn't work.
Well, you were trying to link an actual physical event, weren't you, with people being able to join it online as well? So
that's right. Yeah, that was the that was the original idea. Because we were having the physical events, my idea was to stream. I was using like a webinar sort of piece of software at the time. It was fairly early in the days, really, when all that was happening, and this was a bit of kit that I brought that was supposed to integrate to my website. And the idea was that it was just going to be like an audio stream, so we didn't want to show people because we thought that might be a bit too invasive, but to have an audio stream so that then they can join in the conversation. But maybe that's something we could still try and do, but at that time it was more that I couldn't get the software working properly, rather than the idea not working.
Thing with the online, well, when we had the Zoom meeting, I mean, we could, everyone was there visually, weren't they?
Yeah.
But you could easily not have your video on if you didn't want to be, visually a part of it. You could engage just through the audio, couldn't you?
Yeah, and we did have one person who was in the Zoom meeting, in the Zoom group, who couldn't get her internet working properly, did communicate a little bit with the chat. You can also call in on a normal telephone, so you could have joined that way if, say, for instance, your internet was down. There's no excuse, people. You can still come.
and although obviously it was kind of targeted at people living locally, but we had people, someone from Havant, someone from Southampton, other people from Ports, so there was a kind of that wouldn't have happened, would it? Certainly, we wouldn't have been able to have brought that group together physically, probably. So
most definitely. It was really nice to join those communities together. There were people that we've been connected with, but in different times and at different places. So to have everyone together like that was really neat.
Yeah. And how do you think? So thinking, because you were like the chair of the event, how did that work from your point of view? With the question and people's contributions.
Yeah, so as I say, originally it was a bit nerve-wracking because I wasn't quite sure how it was going to go, but I know Zoom really well, and the idea has evolved from that very first time when we tried it with that webinar system. So this was something that was a Zoom group that wasn't being streamed or anything like that. It was a private group that people within the group are seeing, and that connected us all. And then it was really about working out how do we then manage the conversation. Because we normally, yourself, Carolyn, you would walk around with our talking stick, when we're actually in the physical room. And obviously that's not going to work. But as I say, I know Zoom fairly well these days, and I'm aware that on Zoom you've got this like hand up or a thumbs up, I think you can do. So we used that, didn't we? And when people wanted to talk, if they didn't know how to do that, if they had their camera on, they could just wave their hand and I would have seen them anyway. But they can click the emoji, what do they call it? I'll just have a look on Zoom now. The reactions button on Zoom. Oh, sorry, now I've just done something funny on the stream. There we go. Sorry about that, people. That's where I just clicked something I shouldn't have. So you can check the reactions button. And the really nice thing that I liked a lot about that session was people putting their thumbs up when they agreed. Or like what someone was saying resonated with them. They could put the little thumbs up and you could see that. And as someone was talking, you'd see like people's pictures popping up with a thumbs up, and I thought that was really neat. I thought that was really nice. Yeah. It gives that little bit of live feedback too, where normally when you're in the room, you're going to catch people's body language more, aren't you? You're going to get more of a feel, bit more of a feedback from what you're saying. And where on Zoom you lose that reaction emoji was, I found, really important. I think that really helped. What was your experience? Did you find the same thing?
Yeah, I thought it did work really well. In the live events, it's it's sometimes quite difficult to manage everyone's contributions, isn't it? It's quite easy to, for someone to interrupt or talk over, and so there's quite a bit of kind of just making sure that everyone's heard individually and they have their time, and then it's kind of shared around. And the talking stick does work well, but sometimes it can be hard, whereas Zoom sort of slows it down in a way, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's
true.
So
you can literally control it that only one person's talking at a time, which is quite, because I think that's part of the whole Trialogue experience, is that it's not about people arguing a point, or it's really about, it's much more exploratory, isn't it, and reflective. You kind of think about what other people have said, and then you want to contribute because something comes to mind, and it feels safe to share it. So it's not, you're not having to be right, or it's quite a different experience, really.
I think that's the thing. There is no right or wrong in any of the conversation. It's and there's no stature, there's no kind of status of anyone. And that's all part of the rules, in a sense. That there is no status, that everyone's opinion matters. Nobody's any better than anyone else. Nothing that anyone says is any better than anything else. And everyone gets a voice. Everyone. And it that's the true sort of wonderful thing about it. And it's interesting what you said there, because actually where in the room the conversation can sometimes be challenging to manage, to make sure that everyone gets heard and everyone's voice has that opportunity. In Zoom, that's almost like quite like an unthought of benefit, isn't it? Like I didn't actually expect there to be specific benefits of doing it online. But that really was that it's easier to manage that everyone gets that option, everyone gets that choice to speak without being spoken over.
Is it worth just saying what the question was at our last?
If I can remember it.
So I think it was how do we look after our mental health
in the community? Yes, wasn't it? No, something about the community.
Yes. Or how do we
look after our mental? Hang on, I might have it somewhere. I'll look it up. Also, we've got Liz is on the chat here, and she's just saying she was seeing whether she wanted to come in. She was in. She says, I think it was good having it on Zoom. People seemed more real. So that's nice.
Yes.
And I could go to the live event because I couldn't go to the live event because it was in Gosport. So the online Trialogue was accessible to everyone. Yeah, that's nice.
And I think that's the thing about, we normally have those events in the evening. Yes, it's early evening, but still that does make it difficult for some people to get there. And yes, and even just travel, or for whatever reason, it can be hard to get to meetings. And that is one of the great bonuses of online, isn't it? That it can be much more accessible to people who would otherwise find it physically difficult to make it to meetings.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and we when we do them in person, like you say, we do them quite early, and that's because because it's a 2-hour slot. So we start at about 6 o'clock usually, don't we, and finish about 8, which can be quite challenging for some. So having it online can make that much more accessible. There's no travel time. So I've just found the question. It was so the starting question that we had. And we always start the Trialogue with a question that usually is devised by the Trialogue before. But because this was the first online one, we provided this first question. And it was, how can mental health be promoted in communities given the impact of COVID-19? So you were almost there from memory.
Yes. And the questions at all Trialogue meetings are quite broad, aren't they? It's about stimulating discussion rather than something that was, going to be some straightforward answer to. But I thought one of the things that came out of the Trialogue discussion was about how people were feeling, how it was becoming more kind of normalised to talk about mental health. This was something that people were experiencing much more broadly or more openly, if you like, during the lockdown and the pandemic. Whereas, I mean, it's certainly, lots of people have experienced all kinds of mental health issues prior to that, but there's something about this period that has raised its profile, hasn't it? And it's become much more normal and expected to talk about our mental health during this period. So it's quite, interesting to think of it in that way.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that was quite an interesting perception, one that I hadn't really considered before, sort of how that was feeling to people who have had more long-standing struggles with mental ill health. There was sort of a sense where people were talking about it a lot more commonly, that it's become something more general, that there was just that kind of different slant on that, where people kind of, well, actually, hang on, I've struggled with this for a long time. This isn't something new.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this isn't new. This has always happened.
Yes.
Whereas we're almost talking about it like this is a new phenomenon when, yeah.
Yes, everyone's discovering mental health. Or discovering that there can be issues with it.
Yeah.
Actually, we all experience at different times and periods, but big.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I hadn't thought about it that way, but it's such a valid perception and something to definitely kind of reflect on. And Liz in the chat is just saying she agrees with what you said there, Carolyn. And I'm just wondering, actually, we've tried a few times with these to see whether people want to come in and chat with us in the stream. And I know, Liz, you sort of mentioned it at one point and it hasn't kind of transpired that way. We have got a few minutes left. So I'm going to post in the comments. So shall I do this, Carolyn? Shall I post in the comments?
Yeah.
If I put the Zoom link in, you can join us, and if you don't want to be seen, you can keep your camera off, and it will only be your audio. But if you're happy to be seen, then put your camera on, and because you were in the Trialogue, Liz, so it would be really great to have you in for a brief moment. We're not going to have too long. We've got about 6 minutes left or so. So let me post this for you. I'm going to let you say something, Carolyn, while I find all the gubbins.
Okay. Oh, not quite sure what to say.
Put you on the spot.
I suppose just to follow up on that point, that the other side of it is that there's a lot more talk now about what we can do to look after our mental health. And this is something that at the Good Mental Health Cooperative we've been banging on about for a really long time. And so again, a lot of those things that we've talked about for a number of years about ways to look after our mental health, having that focus, how do we take care of our mental health, rather than just, focusing on, difficulties or problems. It's having that kind of common, more education and more awareness about what do we do normally to look after our mental health, because we don't have that same kind of knowledge as we do about our physical health, do we? We don't talk about it in the same way.
Yeah,
but
that's right.
There's definitely been a lot more around about, and I suppose partly because some things have been taken away, haven't they? The social contact that people have had, the activities, different things have disrupted our lives, and you kind of think, that's gone. Actually, that was something that helped me stay mentally healthy.
Yes.
And now that's gone.
We've been able to identify that sort of, this is, rather than talking about mental health being a problem, we're talking about mental health being part of our healthy lifestyle that we need.
Yes, exactly. And it's, as we would our physical health, isn't it? We don't, we talk all the time about how to get fit, or, how to improve our diet, or, we're short on sleep, or, do you know what I mean? Or we have lots of physical health conversations which aren't about illness. They're about, good physical health, really. But we don't have that same awareness around our mental health, which arguably is, more important, to be honest.
Definitely. Equally as important, definitely.
Yes, but it's very often physical health issues can, are very interrelated, aren't they, to our mental health as well?
Yeah.
So it all kind of feeds into each other.
Yeah, definitely. We are one being, aren't we?
Yes.
We're not two parts.
Yeah.
You know, physical and mental. No, I am just Sarah. You know,
Yeah.
I am
know.
me. I am one. My physical health and my mental health are all part of me.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very. It's a strange way that we in the West look at our health, where we divide our psychology
Yes.
to physical, and we think of it as separate modalities when it's not. We're all just one person. The brain is just an organ.
Well, we're brilliant at compartmentalising all sorts of things, aren't we? I mean,
Yeah.
you can cut up our bodies with all the different specialists there are.
Yes.
You know, there's so much that is going on in a holistic way, which affects different parts of us.
Yeah, definitely. So unfortunately, Liz has posted saying that she couldn't. She needs to go,
Yeah.
which is fair enough. We did
Fine.
spring it on her.
Yes.
But if you're watching this on the video after the live's finished and you fancy joining us on one of our chat cafes, we would really love to have your input. This was the original idea, was to have people coming in to join the conversation. As it happens at the moment, we've had a few guests, but we haven't had anyone from the public just kind of popping in. So if you want to do that, then we'd love it to happen. If that happens, we would love it. So please do let us know, or just join at the time and just give us a message and we'll share the link with you. One thing I have done is I've started discovering this new streaming software that is giving us this lovely sort of header here and making the jingle at the beginning look really cool. Well, the other thing that I've recently discovered today is that I can also, and you don't know about this yet, Carolyn, I can also create a sort of a notification thing on Facebook to say when our next Chit-Chat Cafe is going to be.
Ah.
Yeah.
Did you do that today?
I did.
I did spot that on the Facebook page, and I thought that was clever.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, so I can do it like a week in advance. It won't let me do it any more than a week.
Okay.
So I'll do it.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
And you can, so you can go, sorry, so you, just to finish up on that, you can go onto the page, you'll see when our next meeting is, our next cafe chit chat is, and you can click interested and that will give you an alert, but also you're going to know the time. It's just going to be a bit more kind of visible, and yeah, join us. So that's me done. Over to you.
Discovering all sorts of things as we go with all this, aren't we?
Yeah, I love it. I'm loving it. It's great fun.
Yeah. So so just a reminder then that the next Trialogue, which we will be advertising, is on the 19th of August. Do please join us. It would be really brilliant to have another inspiring discussion, and as we've said, it's a private Zoom group, but you know, really inspiring experience. So come and join us.
Yeah,
And
really
and any of your courses, you know, please do go on the website that is being advertised quite a lot. I'm sure you'll find the link.
Right above.
Yes.
You can join the Trialogue on that website too.
Yeah. So go and have a look round. You know, you doesn't commit you to do anything, does it? To go on the website gives you an opportunity to read up a little bit about each of the courses. We're even starting to get some reviews on the courses, so you know, go and have a look.
Yeah,
okay.
Brilliant. Thank you. Cool. So that's us done for tonight. I hope you've enjoyed our chat today. I've enjoyed talking about the Trialogue. I really love it. So yeah, really looking forward to that. And we'll see you next week, 10:30 on Wednesday.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
friends.